She stood behind the counter, pain burning down her left leg like fire through cracked glass. Every step felt like betrayal from her own body. But she smiled, because that's what good employees do. You push through, even when every nerve screams stop. That Sunday was chaos. Orders piling up, customers impatient, managers pacing with fake urgency. It was supposed to be her first normal week back after surgery, but her leg hadn't healed the way the doctors promised. They said to be careful. Her boss said to hurry up. She had spent months recovering from a tumor surgery on her tibia. It was a fight she didn't ask for, but she survived it. Coming back to work had felt like victory. Her first week back, she told herself she'd keep her head down, prove she could still do it, but deep down she knew the store didn't care about recovery. To them, she was just another body on the floor. Her shift leader, Melissa, as she'll call her, had made that clear the moment she returned. Melissa wasn't cruel in loud ways, she was cruel in quiet ones. The kind that smile while cutting you down. When she saw her limping on her first day back, she'd said, "If you can walk, you can work." Today, Melissa was at her worst. She barked orders without making eye contact. "Keep the pace up. We've got a Russian coming. If you're on break, make it quick." She walked fast, like she wanted everyone else to feel slow. The team felt it too. Everyone avoided her. Everyone said yes, even when it hurt. By 11 a.m., her leg was screaming. The sharp pain from her knee to her ankle pulsed like a drum. Every step made her vision blur for a second. She tried stretching, resting her weight on her right leg, but nothing helped. Still, she kept loading grocery bags into carts. Customers smiled without seeing the pain behind hers. "Thank you," they said. She nodded, swallowing the urge to sit down. Then came the straw. A large family order. 30 bags, 4 cases of water. Her coworker was late from break, and Melissa pointed straight at her. "You've got this one. Move fast. Customers waiting outside." She froze. "My leg?" She cut her off. "No excuses. You're cleared by your doctor, right? Then do your job." The words hit harder than the pain. She bent down, picked up the first case, and felt something pull deep inside her calf. Her breath caught. She set it down fast, pretending she dropped it by accident. Inside, she wanted to scream, but she didn't. She smiled again, because that's what workers do when they can't afford to fall apart. When she finally looked at the clock, only 90 minutes had passed. It felt like 5 hours. The store noise blurred into background static. The only thing she could focus on was the throbbing inside her leg, that steady, cruel reminder that she wasn't healed. She leaned against the cold metal counter and whispered to herself, "I'm not doing this again." But she still had 3 hours left before lunch. And Melissa wasn't done testing her. By noon, the pain had crossed a line. It was no longer background noise. It was the only thing she could feel. Her leg felt heavy, like the bone itself was pulsing. Every step sent a jolt through her body. She started dragging her left foot slightly, hoping no one would notice. She loaded another cart, smiled through another thank you, and limped back inside. The air conditioning hit her face, but even that didn't help. Her shirt clung to her back from sweat. She leaned on the counter, one hand gripping the edge for balance. Her breathing was short and shallow. Melissa stood at the service desk, arms crossed, watching everyone like a warden. The woman had a habit of looking for weakness. If you were tired, she gave you extra work. If you were injured, she questioned your commitment. It wasn't leadership, it was ego management. Finally, she decided to try again. She approached slowly, choosing her words carefully. "Melissa, my leg's acting up. Can I take my break early, please? I just need to sit for a bit." Melissa didn't even look up from her screen. "We're all tired. You're not the only one working today." She blinked. "I'm not tired. I'm in pain. My leg—" Melissa interrupted. Unless your leg's about to fall off, you're fine. Stick to the schedule." Her jaw tightened. Her heart was pounding, not from effort, but from anger. She wanted to remind her about the doctor's note that was already in HR's file. She wanted to scream that she was lucky to even be walking. But something stopped her. Not fear, not submission, but exhaustion. So she just said, quietly, "Got it," and walked away. But the pain didn't care about work schedules. 10 minutes later, her leg buckled slightly as she turned a corner. She caught herself on a shelf, wincing. The world blurred for a second, and she had to steady herself. A coworker noticed. "You okay?" She nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just tired." The coworker hesitated, then whispered, "Go sit down for a bit. Melissa won't even notice." She almost laughed. Melissa noticed everything, except people's pain. At that moment, the intercom buzzed. "Curbside, rush order, need everyone out front." Of course, another rush, another chance for Melissa to prove her authority. She moved toward the exit, limping worse now. Each step was an argument between her will and her body. Her leg throbbed harder with every minute. By the time she reached the cart area, her face had gone pale. When Melissa walked by, she gave her that same dry look. "You don't look that bad, you'll be fine." Something snapped. It wasn't loud, it wasn't visible, but inside she felt a shift. A cold, steady realization that she didn't owe this place anything. She made it through one last order, barely keeping balance. As soon as the car pulled away, she pressed a hand to her thigh, trying to stop the shaking. "Can I go now?" she muttered under her breath. Melissa finally said, "Fine, 15 minutes, be back on time." She nodded, but this time her mind was elsewhere. As she walked to the break room, every limp felt lighter. The pain was still there, but it wasn't winning anymore. Because somewhere between humiliation and exhaustion, she'd found something sharper. Resolve. This wasn't going to be a normal break. It was going to be her last one here. When I first found out about the tumor in my left leg, it felt like my world collapsed overnight. It wasn't some small ache or minor injury. It was a tumor in my tibia. I remember sitting in the doctor's office, staring at the x-ray, hearing the words but not processing them. The doctor explained that if I kept walking or putting weight on it, there was a real risk the bone could snap. That sentence hit me harder than anything else. I was young, I needed my job, and now I had to stop working completely. By April, I met the surgeon who confirmed it. No work, no walking without support, total rest. At first, I thought it would be a few weeks, maybe a month, but months passed, and the pain became a constant reminder that I wasn't like everyone else anymore. Every time I looked at my crutches, I felt stuck. I missed being busy, moving, feeling useful. The surgery finally came in June. It was brutal, but necessary. I told myself this would be the start of healing. After weeks of recovery, I could slowly move again. By the time I got cleared to return to work, it had been months. My body was weaker, but I was determined to prove to everyone and myself that I could handle it. The surgeon gave me the green light, but warned me not to overdo it. The bone was healing, but still fragile. When I went back, my coworkers were happy to see me. Some hugged me, some said, "You sure you're ready for this?" I smiled and said yes, even though inside I wasn't so sure. The job wasn't easy. It was curbside shopping, carrying groceries, and walking nonstop. But I wanted normal again. I needed normal again. The first few days went fine. Then came Sunday, the busiest day of the week. From the moment I clocked in, the orders piled up. My shift leader was already stressed, snapping at people. I tried to keep up, limping slightly but pretending not to notice. After about an hour and a half, the sharp pain returned. It started behind my knee, then shot down my leg like electricity. I tried to ignore it. I told myself, push through. Don't complain. But every step burned. It felt like my leg was cracking from the inside. Finally, I walked up to my shift leader and said quietly, "Can I go on my break a little early? My leg's hurting pretty bad." I expected some understanding. After all, they knew about my surgery. Instead, she gave me this cold look and said, "I'm in pain too. This is a team effort. Unless you have a doctor's note, you can't leave early." I froze. I did have a doctor's note. It was already in HR. I reminded her. She shrugged. The pain kept getting worse. 5 minutes later, she let me go anyway, probably because she saw how bad I was limping. But in that short walk to the break room, something in me snapped. I realized I wasn't just tired, I was done. During my break, I sat there holding my leg and thinking about how hard I had worked to get back here, how much pain I had endured, and how little it mattered to the people above me. All the loyalty, all the effort, it meant nothing. When my timer went off for the 15-minute break, I didn't go back to my station. I walked straight to the manager's office. My heart was pounding. "I'm done," I said. "I quit." When I said I quit, the manager looked stunned for a second. Maybe he thought I was bluffing? People threatened to quit all the time during busy shifts, but I wasn't bluffing. My leg throbbed so hard I could feel my pulse in the bone. I'd reached my limit. He didn't argue much. Maybe he saw it in my face. The pain, the exhaustion, the finality. I turned around, walked straight to the time clock, and punched out. The sound of that click felt like release. Months of frustration, guilt, and pushing myself too far, gone in 1 second. As I left my apron on the counter, I heard my name over the intercom. They were paging me back to my department. I laughed quietly to myself. What did they expect me to do? Clock back in and finish the shift after that? Not happening. For once, I was choosing myself. Walking out of that store felt strange. I had no backup plan, no new job lined up, but I had peace. I knew I wasn't weak for quitting. I was tired of being treated like my pain didn't matter. The thing is, this wasn't the first issue I'd had with that shift leader. She had a pattern. She'd pick favorites, pile work on others, and act like being strict made her a good leader. It didn't. It made her cruel. When I complained before, management brushed it off as communication issues. They always protected their own. When someone like her gets power, even small power, they start to believe empathy is optional. She didn't see me as a person recovering from major surgery. To her, I was an employee number slowing her down on a busy Sunday. That mindset destroys good workers. I stayed in the parking lot for a few minutes, just sitting in my car, trying to process everything. My phone buzzed with messages from coworkers. "Did you really quit? What happened?" I told them the truth. Some said they weren't surprised. Others said, "Good for you." That made me realize how many people there felt the same way, but didn't have the courage to walk away. About 10 minutes later, I went back inside not to return, but to grab a few groceries. I still needed food for the week. As I walked to the checkout, I saw my main boss coming in. He spotted me from across the aisle. He gave me a side glance, then looked away quickly. His face was tight, angry, but he didn't say a word. He wasn't mad that I quit. He was mad that I quit on the busiest day of the week. He was mad that I left them short-staffed and scrambling. He was mad that I did it publicly without making a scene, but still making a statement. That glance said everything. I'd broken his schedule, his system, his illusion of control. When I walked out with my groceries, the air felt different. The next morning, my phone lit up with messages, some from coworkers, others from numbers I didn't recognize. Word travels fast in retail. Everyone wanted to know if it was true that I quit mid-shift. Yes, it was true. I didn't explain or apologize. I said I'd had enough, and that was that. A few coworkers told me the store was chaos after I left. Orders piled up, customers waited longer. The shift leader was running between aisles trying to cover for missing hands. The same woman who told me this is a team effort was drowning without the team. That was poetic. By noon, I got a text from her. "You really left us hanging. Not cool." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. She didn't care about me when I was limping in pain, so I didn't owe her comfort now. That silence was my last word. Later that day, I got a call from the store manager. He tried to sound calm, but I could hear the frustration. "We wish you'd handled this differently," he said. "You left us in a difficult spot." I told him I'd tried to handle things differently for months. I told him about how I'd warned them about my condition, how I'd shown up every day, pushed through pain, and still got disrespected. You didn't listen, so I stopped talking. Then I hung up. The freedom hit me slowly. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. No alarm set, no aching dread of another shift, no fake smiles for managers who ignored basic decency. I didn't realize how much weight I'd been carrying until it was gone. Over the next few days, I reflected on everything. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt calm. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the strongest move you can make when the system won't change. I checked in with a few coworkers later. Some said the shift leader had started acting different, nicer, quieter, less controlling. Others said she was trying to act like nothing happened. Either way, the message had landed. A week later, I went for a follow-up appointment with my doctor. He looked at my leg, smiled, and said the healing was going well. I told him what happened. He shook his head and said, "You made the right call. Your body doesn't owe anyone productivity." That sentence stuck with me. I'd been trained to think showing up no matter what was loyalty. But loyalty doesn't mean suffering in silence. It means respecting yourself enough to stop letting others decide your limits. My leg will heal. The job will replace me. But I'll never forget how that moment felt, choosing peace over pain, self-respect over approval. Sometimes petty revenge isn't about payback. It's about reclaiming your dignity. And as for them, let's just say Sundays haven't been the same since. If you've ever stayed in a job that hurt more than it helped, let this story be your sign. Walk away before they break you. Your worth isn't measured by how much you endure. Subscribe to Revenge Rewind for more stories of quiet payback and poetic justice.